Now, one of the most important reasons that I am standing here today is a film by the name of Loose Change. Now, could I just get a show of hands? How many people in this room are awake today for a good portion of it having been loose change that woke them up? Look at all those hands out there. And now that is the testament to how important that film was. And our next speaker is one of the principal directors and people who had to do with the coming out of that film. Now, he is also the director of a very important film also called Fabled Enemies, and he is also the host of his own radio show called The Info Warrior. And I'd like to give you the inspiration, the reason that why I am standing here today, Jason Bermas.
Well, I want to start on a positive note. You know, it really warms my heart. I see a bunch of you people out there with the Investigate 9/11 shirts that I designed now 5 or 6 years ago. People like Anthony Schaefer, who were in my films, Loose Change, Final Cut, and Fabled Enemies, stepping up to the plate, coming to our conference, showing support. That really does warm my heart. Seeing Ray McGovern here, folks, I mean, he's amazing. And other people who I've never met before, like Howard Raleigh, talking about how much terror can change our lives and how fear can direct us in these places that we don't really know where we're going. But I want to talk about today how we're almost 9 years away from a crime that has not been solved, and the people, the principal people involved in this, have not been brought to justice. And there's fear in my heart that they will never be brought to justice, and I don't want to see that happen. I know that we can make a change. We can at least hold some of these people accountable. So how do we do it? How do we hold these people accountable? Well, I think it's great that I'm looking at 200-300 people. But people who were with me 4 years ago on the 5th anniversary really know what kind of power we can wield. We had 2,000 to 3,000 people in the same t-shirt. We handed out 10,000 DVDs in less than 90 minutes at Ground Zero, at the point where we weren't even supposed to be there. We were threatened with being corralled, or we put in plastic cuffs or hauled away in paddy wagons, but there were enough firefighters and police officers who were aware of my film, who were aware of Alex Jones, Infowars.com, and they guided us through. They said, look, we're going to help you out. And they actually helped us with a march. So now on the 9th anniversary, how many of us are going to be out there tomorrow? Probably 400, 500, 600, 700, maybe. I want to implore you that we are 366 days now away from the 10th anniversary of 9/11. Okay? And unfortunately, we have this psychological bias where we count everything and, it's the 5th anniversary, it's the 10th anniversary, it's the 50th, the 25th. We have a real opportunity next year to corral the mainstream media into covering the real issues of 9/11 truth. I want to backtrack 4 years ago. Never had the media touched 9/11 truth on the level it did 4 years ago on the 5th anniversary. Let me give you an example. The History Channel put together a 2-hour hit piece on myself, Dylan, Corey, Stephen Jones, Richard Gage. And who did they use? They used Popular Mechanics, because obviously Popular Mechanics has all the answers. Well, tomorrow will be the 4th anniversary of when I got my opportunity to cut my teeth on James Meggs and David Dunbar of Popular Mechanics on Amy Goodman's Democracy Now! And, I can stand before you today and say it's truly one of the proudest moments of my life, sitting inches away from somebody I knew who was being disingenuous, somebody who was an ex-editor of Entertainment Weekly, who was supposedly the authority of physics, science, and geopolitics all rolled into one. This is the guy that was basically reporting on Tom Cruise and big movie stars. And him telling me that anytime someone disagreed with me, that I called him a liar. I hadn't called anyone a liar up to that point. But then I turned to James Meggs and said, I'm not calling anybody a liar, but I am going to call you a liar, because you are a liar. And he knows that. So, a lot of people don't know this, but, I did like 4 or 5 radio shows that day, and one of the reasons we were able to get thousands of people out there was that Loose Change was such a big hit that I was doing 3 or 4 radio interviews a day, pleading with people, please come down to New York City, please help our cause, and they did. Well, the 5th anniversary, I was supposed to be on Glenn Beck's program as well. This is back when he was on CNN, he wasn't, you know, the big media darling that he is now. He wasn't having, you know, things going on in Washington where hundreds of thousands of people were corralled into his mesmerization. And I got a call about an hour beforehand, said, no, you're not coming on. So after a long day of being at Ground Zero, I did the Adam Carolla show, I did all these different shows. I watched what Glenn Beck did. And he played excerpts of our film with James Meggs sitting there against nobody and denounced us. They didn't say thousands of us were out there, they said a few hundred. They showed certain angles. Even the live feeds at Ground Zero that day did not show Ground Zero because there were too many of us in Investigate 9/11 shirts. They just shied away. They were showing close-up shots of people at podiums, but they didn't want to address the masses. So today, I want to ask you guys out there that are going to be out there tomorrow to go to your friends, your family members, and get them to come next year. I can tell you right now, I have never worked as hard as I did on that 5th anniversary. And, you know, that's partly my fault. I wasn't here last year. I was working on a film called Invisible Empire, a broader spectrum film. I hope that you checked it out. But I think it is so important for everybody to realize how much individual power they possess. Folks, I stand before you, a 31-year-old documentary filmmaker that has now written and directed 2 of his own films, worked on at least 5 others, including The Obama Deception. I worked on Fall the Republic with Alex. Alex was good enough to produce my film, Fabled Enemies. I worked on the 9/11 Chronicles that really goes through Luke Rudowski and so many other activists out there. Guys, when I was 22 years old, I was an unemployed graphic designer / pizza guy. Do you know how many people laughed in my face when I started actually looking into 9/11? And I lost friends. My own stepfather thought I was crazy. He wouldn't look me in the eye. He was worried that I was going to go off some kind of deep end. And I can't tell you how many people turned around after we put out that film, after it became an international phenomenon. You know, now it's like, wow, it looks like you had something going on there, Jason. I guess there are some questions out there. And that shows the power of just one individual. You know, my next project is hopefully going to be on mind control. That's why I'm here filming today. I'm hoping to get people like Ray McGovern to do an interview. Colleen Rowley, I haven't interviewed you yet. I'd like to. And I think it's so important that we share these materials. You know, right now, Invisible Empire has been out for about 5 months. It has almost 1 million views on YouTube. I think that's great. I'm sold nowhere near 1 million copies, but that's all right. You know, I sell a few thousand, people pick them up, they make copies, they hand them out to other people. You can be proactive. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be a filmmaker. That doesn't mean you have to be a radio show host. But before I was any of these things, I was a guy flipping pizzas, telling my manager, telling my delivery guy. I was working in a graphic design shop, telling the people in the back who were printing and cutting the paper what was going on. What it really comes down to is, are you ready to be a human being and relate to others? Because this is about humanity, folks. This isn't about black, white, brown, Asian, Jewish, Christian. No, this is about humanity. And our entire foreign and domestic policy is based on the events of 9/11 in this country. Believe it. It's why we're in Iraq. It's why we're in Afghanistan. It is the reason we have an ever-encroaching police state. It's the reason that we're now seeing Top Secret America reported by the Washington Post. They're openly stating almost 900,000 domestic spies that aren't under any agency. They're under private corporate control so they can share information. Well, I got news for you, folks. We've been under private corporate control for some time now, and now they're just letting you know about it. So really, to me, now is the time to go forward, pull other people in that may not want to listen. You know, you got to find common ground with them. Maybe Loose Change is a little too hardcore in the beginning. Maybe you want to show them a video of Building 7. Maybe you just want to show them a short YouTube clip. Maybe you want to have the 9/11 Commission report in your hand and point out some of the discrepancies, such as the hijackers being trained at U.S. bases. Pensacola, Florida. We had the dean of the Defense Language School in Monterey, California come out and say that Saeed Al-Ghamdi and 4 of the others were trained there. Okay? This is a reality. So really, I'm up here to tell you people that you can make a difference, that it's not just about coming to conferences, writing articles, making films. We have to make our presence known, not only this year, but especially next year. Next year could be a breaking point. And I want to thank all of you guys for coming out here and supporting my work. Thank you very much.